good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it is. And welcome back to Loving Lori. I am so excited to have local Gemco here with me. And Jasmine is the creator, the founder, the everything at local Gemco. Jasmine, do you want to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about local Gemco?
Hi, ladies. So my name's Jasmine Martinez. I am a normal 30-year-old woman. I have a full-time job. Local Gemco, and we can get into this later, is more of a passion project, I guess you can say. I do have a full-time career that takes up like 80 hours of my work week. So everything that you find in local Gemco, I really am inspired by something in life that is like, it's a trigger. Like, okay, I need to figure this out. I incorporate crystals into my work, and we can kind of dive into that later. But yeah, I mean, I've been around for about 4 years. And the business will change as I change as a person. I can give you more details into that later. But yeah, I mean, that's it.
That sounds great. That is so awesome. And I want to say I've been following your account for like 3, maybe 4 years. It could be 4 years. So that's so crazy. And that's awesome. I love that you also, I'm sure you're gonna, well, let me just get to the next question before I start blabbing away. Okay, so where can we find local Gemco?
So local Gemco is on Etsy. My link's in my bio on Instagram, and my handle is at local Gemco. I also do a few pop-ups here and there, but like I said, I am super busy like in my day-to-day life and my career. So primarily you'll find me at the Boss Babe Market, and I will be there this coming Saturday. It's at the Women's Club in Anaheim.
Okay, perfect. I will link all that stuff below. I'll put all the information down below. It's super exciting. And that's what I wanted to bring up was the Boss Babe Market. So I started this channel because I want to show that there's so many women that are working full time and they started their own business and a profitable business that they, like Jasmine said, like this is her passion project. If you have a passion for something, it's so important to follow it and to do exactly what you want to do. And it's grown with her. It's changed and it's such a beautiful thing. But what I love the most is that I wanted to do this to empower other women and the Boss Babe Market. I've also been following their account for a while. They have been just getting bigger and bigger, and it's so beautiful to see because they're all women that are supporting other women also, and women ran businesses. So it's such a great thing. I am super far from Orange County now, so it's sad because every time I want to go, I'm like, okay, that's like a 3.5 hour drive and then back. But I am going to make it out one day. So I want to ask you next, what is your why and what is it that makes this a passion project for you? Why did you start local Gemco?
Ooh, this is gonna get deep. So, I've always been really good at business. Since I was in high school, I've had an Etsy page, and like I kind of touched on this earlier, my business model has always changed and conformed to who I was as a person. So when I started, I was selling phone cases. I wanted a phone case. I wanted blinked out. Rhinestone took me up, sis. So I started making phone cases, and that was very lucrative. As I, kind of got older and I evolved, I'm like, okay, well, I moved out. I love like home decor, hence my freaking wall art.
Yes.
So I started woodworking. I'm a store manager for Home Depot, so that's what I do.
Okay.
That's like, so I'm at Home Depot, and I'm like, hey, I want to start making things. So I started doing that. As much as it was lucrative, it wasn't fulfilling for me. As I got into my mid-20s, I started really dealing with and working through the trauma that I've been through in life. And it was hard, girl. Like that is so hard. And I think that you and I have had a conversation before about things that you've gone through,
Yeah.
So I'm reflecting one day and I'm like, God, I really like this needs to be public knowledge that we are not alone.
Yes.
Like let's end the shame. Let's end the like, oh, I'm gonna go cry in a corner by myself. Like there's women that have gone through things that we've gone through.
Yes.
And why are we so scared to talk about this? So I had a cousin that was, there for me when I was going through it. And she was like, Jazz, like, you should look into crystals. I'm like, what do you mean crystal? Is that like a rock? Like, what is it? So it took me forever. And I said it's going to get deep. So I grew up in a Christian home. Like my grandparents, my grandma especially, very religious. So I kind of grew up with that mentality of like, God, anything out of this Christianity is not good.
Yeah.
So I went to a crystal store and I was so scared. I was like praying as I walked in, and I'm like, oh my God, please the demons get me. Like I was freaking out, super irrational thinking, by the
Yeah.
way. I was scared. But as I started working with crystals on my own, they really helped.
Mm-hmm.
And, as I'm at pop-ups and stuff, I'll always have those people that are, kind of challenging do they work? I don't understand. It's a rock. And look, my magic's not for everybody. I get that. Boo, thank you for coming through. Appreciate it. Have a great day. But as I started working with my girlfriends and I'm like, hey, like, I know you're going through it. Like, let me just try to help you. It works. It works. And I started getting messages, as I started creating local Gemco. Hey, I'm embarrassed to message you, but this happened to me when I was 15 and it's hitting me now. I'm a mom now. Like, what do I do? So I started getting these messages that were like overwhelming for me. I have anxiety too. I suffer from imposter syndrome, like highly. Like I'm a store manager at 30 in a big box retailer. I still don't know how the hell I did that. Like it's real, the things that go on internally, especially with women, it's real and it can really affect your life, either good or bad, depending on how you handle things. So my why would be, let's start a collective. Let's make a safe space. Come talk to me. If you're feeling things that you don't want to talk about, like I'm a safe place, like let me help. And I'm not going to say, it's really complicated. So I'm not a clairvoyant. I don't have visions. I don't see things. I just know shit. Like I just know things sometimes. And I've always been kind of, I guess I give really good advice, but it's all intuitive. And you'll hear me as I, start adding services to what I'm doing in the shop to kind of steer away from the retail part of the business. I never overpromise. I'll never tell you like, hey, your spirit guide saying this to me, because it's not. I don't know what it is. I just know things.
Yeah.
So I think in the conversation that we had, you were in a kind of a dark place at that time.
It was, yeah. And I think so that's actually when I started loving Lori, because I started filming. I was super sad. And I'm actually, even you bringing that up, it's just the conversation that we had. So I actually want to start another series that I will be doing alongside this series with exactly just that, women having conversations about traumas, and it's important. And you were somebody that was so easy. I don't even remember how we started the conversation, but it just started and it went. And, I think certain people, even on Instagram or, people that you're walking by, where like you're meant to find these people. And maybe you don't know in that moment, but you figure it out. And I didn't know why I was following you. Like, I had never ordered anything from you. I liked your stuff, but at the time, like, I wasn't working. I wasn't like, I'm still not working. But I was just following you, and I messaged you, and then that was that. And it was such a healing conversation.
You're thriving. Like that's beautiful to me to see that. Like, how you followed me and you see my growth. Like I see you too, sis. Like you're doing great. And it's so beautiful to me to see that journey for some people, So I guess that would be the why, to answer your question. It's not just so much about the retail portion. Yeah, is it great to get an Etsy sale now and then? Of course. But what's fulfilling to me is helping women heal, and letting them know that it's okay, and there was a day that I did a women's workshop with Angie. She's the creator of the Body Market.
Okay.
And I'm totally comfortable talking about this now, so don't freak out. But
okay,
I went through something very traumatic in my teen years, and it resulted in an abortion. My mom came to this women's workshop, and I'm sitting there in front of these women trying to conduct this like full moon thing, like let's do vision board, all the glam of the love and light.
yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm in this room, I'm in Angie's little boutique, and I'm just like I couldn't get it out of like my gut. I was like, I am a fraud. Like I can't ask these women to heal if I'm not ready to deal with my stuff. So in front of my mom, I tell my story. And my mom completely broke down and so did I. But I had been with my fiance for like 5 years at that point, and he found out that day too. And that was a moment for me where I was like, you know what? I'm done. Like, I'm done feeling the shame. I'm done feeling this. And that's when I healed. And I want to say that was when local gym started, maybe like 4 or 5 years ago. So I guess the message is like, yeah, the retail's great, but that's not really my objective.
Yeah. Which makes sense, and I think that's such a beautiful way of looking at it. I had an interview that I still haven't posted yet that um her business is also her why, and it's a little bit more on like the sad side of it because we use things as healing. Well, she was using her business as a way to run away, and it
Mm,
becomes a healing process. But it's so nice to know that, you're putting your heart and soul into something, you're making connections, and at the end of the day, it's not about the money.
no,
And even with this, my family's like, because I quit my job, luckily I have the most supportive partner ever. And I quit my job to do this because she believes in me that much. And I'm sure not a lot of people know because only the people close to me know like the details of this. But Mal is here and I'm paying for an interpreter. I'm not working right now, but I am figuring it out because one, I want to give access. Two, I want this information to be known because these conversations are so important. And the connections that you could make with other women instead of hating on other women
yeah,
is such a beautiful connection. And exactly what you said, when you have conversations, you're going to say, hey, that was me too. I was there, or I'm currently right there. And if she made it out of that, then I can do it too. And I think it's so great when you have that why and when you have that passion to heal, because at that point, it doesn't the money doesn't matter, everything else doesn't matter. It's a plus, but
yeah,
it also is it's money is not going to keep you motivated that long, because what happens when you're not making money and it's like a hard month? Are you going to give up and quit? Yeah, because you're like, whatever, it's not making me money, let me find something else that's going to make me money. But when you have this passion inside of you, it's so different, because these connections are what, at least for me, like I thrive off of having conversations like this. And then I leave and I'm like, okay, I feel pumped. I can
yeah,
go clean my house. I could go do this. I could go do that. Like I can do anything. And it's all through a conversation, connection, and understanding that I'm not alone in everything I've gone through. You're not alone. Um, Everybody watching, you're not alone. And I don't know, it's just like heartwarming to me to hear when other women can say that, and when other women can empower other women, whether it's to heal, to just be the badass bitches that they are, just anything that is positive and filled with light and love, but understanding that that came from a very dark place. And
yeah,
it's not, we didn't get here because life was great and we had all this money and everything was easy. We got here through struggle, through pain, through days where, at least for me, like days that I didn't want to be on this earth anymore.
yep,
And I pushed through, and this is where I'm at now, and I am healthier and happier than I've ever been. And it's such a great feeling, like even the conversation that me and you had, where we have gone through something similar, and being able to hear it at the time that I needed to hear it helped me push through all of that. And I don't think I ever thanked you, or maybe I did, but thank you for being there and thank you for messaging me, because it really did mean a lot to me. And I definitely hold a special place in my heart for you, because I really needed that conversation at that moment. So thank you.
of course.
So how did you make this dream, local Gemco, a reality for yourself? Like, how did you start it up? Like, was it something that you had been thinking about? Was it something that just kind of fell in your lap? I know you talked about your cousin telling you about crystals.
Mhm.
Um, so how did this become a reality for you?
So that conversation is really how it started. I remember we were at the Center Street Promenade down the street, and I was just like venting to her, and she brought it up. So I'm very analytical. And it's really hard for me. So my sun sign's an Aquarius, so I am awkward as hell. Like people think that I'm outwardly like an extrovert,
Uh-huh.
but things like markets and stuff, they exhaust me. Like internally I die. So in order to understand it, I started just my books. I love to read. So I got educated on it, and I got more insight into the science behind why crystals work.
Mhm.
And it really comes down to energy, and that's like a whole other conversation, but it's all frequencies. Like every single tangible thing has a frequency. Women love roses. It's because they have the highest frequency. So they give us that love and that comfort that we want, you know? So I got educated on it. I started kind of like killing myself. And that took about like a year and a half for me to really like move on and forgive myself for a lot of things. And then I was like, what the hell? Why not? I already had an Etsy with things that I was selling. So I started with little things. It was just selling sage, selling Palo Santo sticks. I started selling crystal packs, and those were, people loved that. And then I met Angie, the owner of the Boss Bay Market. So her shop is Mad Glam. So she sells clothing. She's a boutique, and her energy is fantastic. Like I hype that girl up every time I can because she really helped me, and I don't even think she knows that. Like we're neighbors, but she is just a beautiful woman. Like she's great. So she's like, you should do it. Like she knew I had a full-time job, and we kind of fed off each other, and it took off. Even now, I think I don't even know. I have like 1,800 followers or something crazy like that. But it's more quality over quantity. And the followers that I do have are so supportive. And I don't even mean that in, regards to an order. It's just like the likes, the messages, like participating in polls, things like that. So that's kind of how it got started. It's still evolving, it will always change because it is a passion project. So I've been doing tarot on myself for about 6 months now.
Okay.
And I finally feel comfortable opening my energies up to other people. So soon I'll be offering more services. So that's exciting.
That
But
is
it's just constantly evolving, constantly changing.
that is so awesome. That is so exciting. Right now, when you mentioned tarot, I just remembered what you said about earlier in the conversation that you can't tell people like, oh, I heard this or
Yeah,
this or I saw this, and you just know. And the funny thing is, that's how I am. And I've been doing tarot on myself probably 2.5 years now. And when I started doing it for my friends and my family, like every reading was just like spot on. And I was just like, okay. And then they're like, well, what do you mean? And I just like, my mouth just starts going. And it's so funny that you say that because I don't think I've even said that to anybody or recognize that myself like, okay, how do I know this and why is it that this is the advice that I'm giving, but it's just something that happens. And where I know other healers that are like, oh, well, I can hear it or I can see this vision or whatever it is. And I think as women also we're taught to question so much and like our worth. And when it comes to starting these healing practices, it's like, okay, well, am I really good at it? Can I
yeah,
do this? Can I do that? So I love that you can stand in your power in saying that, it's just I just know and I
yeah,
can't really explain it, but that's okay. So for the other women, because I thought I was just crazy and I'm just like, I don't know, it just comes. I don't know. But I'm just like, maybe I'm supposed to be seeing it. Do I need to meditate while I'm doing a reading? Do I need to do this? Do I need to do that? But it's so nice to know that, you just know and okay, I can accept that for myself because there's other people that can read that way.
yeah. Women are highly intuitive, whether you want it or not.
Mhm.
And some are gifted where they do see things or they do connect. I met this really awesome woman too at a Boss Bay Market. She's going to be selling there this Saturday. But I've always been told that I have very strong ancestral backing,
Uh-huh.
uh, super strong. And that's, I think, is where I get that energy. Like people always say, you have such a strong presence, like you don't even know it. I don't feel it, but apparently I do. And
Yeah.
I think that that's what's gotten me through a lot of this like icky, dark stuff. Um, and to your point, we are kind of trained and brainwashed to question everything, to
Yeah.
question our worth, whether it's, when you're a kid and you like somebody, always mean to you because he likes you. No, sis, that ain't it. Like that ain't it. So reprogramming ourselves to really just be who we are and accept it is huge.
Yeah, it is. So this brings me to my next question. How do you get through your hard days? And that can be in general within your company. How do
Mhm.
you get through? I know you just talked about ancestral backing and you have your tribe that we don't see, our spirit guides, our ancestors, whoever it is. How do you deal with the hard days or the hard months or the hard weeks?
Regards to like a self-love kind of thing, I was so damaged, like early 20s, late teens, and I was just making like terrible decisions. So when I decided to heal, that was like it for me. Like my sacral was just a hot mess.
Mhm.
So getting through that, I used a ton of rose quartz, a lot of meditation, just to figure out why. Like, why are you like this? Like, why do I feel this? Why am I so it's weird. I've always been a conundrum. Like outwardly, people are like, "Oh my God, you're beautiful," and you're great. I never felt that.
Yeah.
There's days where I still feel like, "Oh my God, I don't want to wear this. I look fat." Um, it's a constant, and it's always. I'm forever for my whole life. I'm going to be learning. I'm going to be healing. But that was probably the hardest for me, was accepting like, all right, girl, like you might be it. Like you might be all right.
Yeah.
But that is like every day you fight that. You fight that. And it's a mental battle. It's mental, it's emotional. I kind of touched on my imposter syndrome earlier.
Mhm.
That is something that I just learned this year exists. Like I've been very critical of myself, outwardly at work, which is why I think I'm so great. And I mean that like as humbly as I
Yeah.
can. In a retail environment for a woman, especially at a company like Home Depot, it's really hard to move up. Like you're
Yeah.
constantly criticized. You can't be vocal because then you're emotional. You can't be passionate because then you're emotional. So my imposter syndrome comes through when like I get promotions and it's like, damn, bro, like how did I do that? Or do I deserve this? Am I good enough? And that's something that I'm working through right now.
Yeah.
And for that, I have to be in the habit of meditating every day. There's days where I wake up late and I can't. So I come home and I try to connect. I try to ground, with crystals, going outside, walking my dog, being present, putting my phone down. I just bought a book called The Daily Stoic, and it is freaking fantastic. I don't know if you've read it or if you've heard about it.
I haven't, but I will put that on. I'm almost done with the book I'm reading now, so I will put that on my list.
So the great thing about this book is that you just read a page a day. It has this quote at the top where you're like, dude, I get this thesaurus because it's so intense.
Mhm.
But then there's a breakdown on the bottom portion of the page that helps you understand. So it's great for your viewers and your followers. I highly recommend that. But getting through the day to day, the biggest tip I can give anybody is acknowledge it and find out why. And
Mhm.
then you target that every day,
Yeah.
whether journaling, reading a book, whatever the case may be.
Yeah, that's really good advice because it's true. If you don't get to the core of what it is, then it's going to continue to happen, and it happens within our entire lives. If we continue, it's like, what is the and I used to say it all the time to myself, is like, well, anytime anything good is happening, then things are going to mess up. And it's like, okay, well, why do I think that? What is the core of that? Because if I continue with that mindset, it's going to keep happening. And it's normal for things to happen because they're happening for a reason. And it's taken me a lot of time to get away from that um thought process, I guess. But what I love about, like, I guess, the spiritual world, I wanted to say realm, is that it it pushes you to figure out what it is at the bottom, what is underlying all these thoughts that we have in our head. And like you said, it's a constant, reassurance of yourself, making sure that you know that you can get through this, making sure that you're strong enough and that you do deserve the best, because it's constant, negativity within ourselves most of the time. So I think that's such great advice and things that, like, I know I still need, because just like you said, it's a constant struggle within yourself. I'm the same way. And even appearance wise too, people are always like, why are you complaining about this? Why are you complaining about that? And it's funny because people see, like, you're gorgeous, your hair is beautiful, you have these beautiful big eyes and these lips, and like, it's like I see it, but then I also know that when I go look in the mirror, I'm like, why do I look like this? Oh my God, did I look like that here? Did I do this? Did I do that? Did I make this face? And it's it's sad how negative we can be within ourselves, and we can't see the beauty that other people see. And then
Yep.
it's hard for people to see that, and they're like, well, you just want the attention. And I remember even my dad telling me one time, like, why do you keep posting things about your appearance? Like, you're so pretty and this and that. And I was just like, I'm not doing it for attention. I'm doing
Yeah.
it because that is how I feel. And like, you should know me well enough to know that I don't do things for attention like that. Like, that's such an ugly way, at least for me, to present myself, like, oh, do I look so ugly today? And just to get a compliment, like, no, that's not the type of person I am. But so what advice would you give to somebody that continues to hit roadblocks, and somebody that is like, just like I said right now, it's like you get through one thing and then another thing comes up, and you get through another thing and then another thing comes up, because I know that you've had a few struggles within your life that, maybe you can give my viewers some advice on that.
The best advice I can give someone that is, hitting a roadblock at some point is understand the issue. Like, what is it? What is the issue? Because at some point, being emotional is okay, but at some point you got to boss up.
Mhm.
Like, boss up and logically dissect it. Once you can logically dissect what's going on and why you're hitting this roadblock, then you can start thinking, okay, maybe this path is not for me. The hardest lesson I think that I've learned in my life is I'm constantly trying to figure things out. And you'll hear me talk about it, like dissect things, right? Like analytically, let's figure this out. Sometimes you just have to take things for face value for what it is. The most common question I get is like, hey, I'm with this guy, I love him, but it's just, we're not vibing, it's not working out. What crystal for that? For me, my advice is like, sis, like, let's figure this out. Let's like take your boyfriend out of the equation, your husband, whatever. Do you really want to make this work? And that opens up a whole other can of worms. So I feel like sometimes removing the emotional connection between, A and B is important. And a lot of people are scared to say that because as healers, we're put in these boxes and these specific buckets where it's all energy or nothing.
Mhm.
I'm not like that. I'm very grounded and I'm very logical. So it's like my advice is spiritual with a twist where
Yeah.
you may not want to hear it, but that is it. Let's pause for a second. Let's slow down. When you're done crying, let's talk. Okay, emotions are out of it. Now logically, like, let's boss up. Let's talk about it.
Yeah.
So
And I love that about you, because I think that's such an important piece, that a lot of people want to sugarcoat things, because
yeah.
then, there's a certain group of people maybe in the spiritual world that are like, no, I don't want to hear that. Just read my cards again and tell me how to fix this. And it's just like, I can give you what the outcome is going to be if you continue this, but deep down inside as well as I know. And I think that, like, no BS approach is such a great approach, because people like me, even if I'm going through the hardest time, like, I want to know the truth. Just
Yeah.
tell me how you see it, because that is what is going, like you said, like, when you boss up and you figure it out, you're going to be able to move forward, and you're not
Yep.
going to stay complacent. You're not going to stay stagnant. And at what point do you decide? Because it's a decision. You can't just expect, I'm going to go to Jasmine to do a reading for me, and oh, she didn't give me what I wanted, so I'm not going to I'm not going to see her anymore. I'm going to go over there because she's so much nicer with her readings or whatever it is. And it's not for everybody, but I think at least myself, I appreciate that type of energy because
Yeah.
you need to hear that. Sometimes you need that friend that's going to be like, girl, like you've wasted 7 years with this person. And what are you doing? You're in the exact same place. You're fighting about the exact same things. Why are you here?
Yeah.
So that's really great. Um, so if you could go back and talk to your younger self, what advice would you give your younger self?
Ooh, my younger self was a hot mess. Uh, I think what I would tell my younger self, and I journal about this all the time because a lot of the things that I've gone through now
Mhm,
are the cause, or
mhm,
I'm sorry, the effect to that cause of the decisions I was making. So I would say, love yourself first. Love yourself first, please. Um, I was seeking things in all the wrong places, and I'd come home and I'd feel like shit about myself, and without getting into too much detail, it's like, even now I see girls, I'm like, can you go through the ugly phase? Like, how are you 14 and you look like that? Like, and like the world is so face value right now. There's so many podcasts about this, and it's 1,000% true. The world is so surface level and everything is instant gratification that we forget um, that we're not an option. You know, don't ever chase anything that is not meant for you.
yeah.
And if this person's going to show you who they are, accept it. It hurts, but accept it and make better decisions. I remember being in high school and I would like go home and I know, like I would think like, why am I like this? I'd be in my room by myself, like, why am I like this? Like, why do I feel like this? And I think at that age, you don't have the mental capacity or the emotional capacity to deal with it.
Yeah.
So you're just lost, And I talk to my mom now and I tell her things that happened to me or things that I did. And she gets so upset. Like she gets so sad because she's like, if you would have just talked to me, my mom would do the same exact thing. So don't harbor that, let it out, let it out. And it's the same message. There's someone else that gone through it. And for me, it was my mom.
Mhm.
And we're so close now. But at that time, it was the shame that was kind of keeping me away from her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it's hard too because that, like you said, in those moments when you're that young, it's just like, am I gonna get in trouble? Is this gonna happen? What consequences are coming with this? And you don't know how to deal with it. You might have opened up to a friend and they are just like, whatever, I'm dealing with my own stuff. And then that's, I think, the beginning of us learning to put ourselves behind everybody else. It's just like, okay, well, I'm going to hold on to my own stuff because this is more important or that's more important. So I think loving yourself first is such an important message. And it's something that I think we all kind of struggle with, especially like you said, I'm sure when I think we're around the same age. When I was in high school, at least, like all we had was MySpace. We didn't have
Yeah.
anything else, and I had to wait till I got home and get on it. Like I didn't have a phone that could go on like a MySpace app or anything like that. So you bringing up that everything is face value, like I have a 12-year-old stepdaughter, and it's just like the things that she's watching on TikTok or on this or that is just like I would have like almost killed myself if
Yeah.
I was seeing all these things, because then you're reflecting all that back on you. And I know she said certain things that are just like, okay, no, that is not how you need to think of yourself. You don't need to compare yourself to this or to that. And it's sad, and I'm sure everybody that is growing up in this era right now, that are young preteens, teenagers, I'm sure it's not easy. And I think that's such a great message to love yourself first. And again, most of these kids don't listen at that age, because I know I wasn't listening at that age, and you're old, you don't know what you're talking about. Um, but it is something that, like, at least for myself, and I'm sure other people that are watching right now, like, it's a constant reminding yourself is that you have to put yourself first, and you have to love yourself first in order for everything else to work out in your life.
if I like, I'm trying to think, like, say I was 16 and someone were to tell me that, I'd be like, I do love myself first. What do you mean? Like, look at my hair. You
Yeah.
know, it's so much more than that. Yeah, it's like back to like MySpace. I remember that time. I think I'm 30, so we probably are about
Yeah,
the same.
yeah, I'm 32.
But I remember like posting a picture. I'll never forget this. I got in so much trouble. But I was like trying to be seductive at 16. And when you think about that now at 30, it's like, what was going on? Like,
Yeah.
what was going on? You know, I'm attracting all this attention, and that filled my filled my tank for a little bit, but it was so temporary where I was seeking that and validation from like men
Yes.
when it was just I just needed myself.
Mhm.
And I think that that's the message even with girls now, you know, at these markets. Like I'm selling and I'm like that old lady now where I'm like, oh my god, where's your mother? Like you're over here with your babies out, like and those like that is the audience that I really want to connect with,
Yeah.
because I feel like they need that.
Mhm.
And for me, like I kind of touched on my chakras being a little out of whack. As you can probably imagine and pick up on this, like here up, I am solid, like I am in tune, I'm grounded, but it's the foundation, like my sacral, my root. My parents were divorced early, like in my life. My stepdad raised me, like he is my dad, but I was always moving. Like my mom worked a lot, and so did my dad, my stepdad. He is my dad. But I was going to my grandma's house for school. And then on the weekends, when it was my real dad's weekend, my other grandma would pick me up. So then I'd go here where I never had a foundation. And that has kind of affected me now, where it's like the little things. Like when we go on vacation, I don't unpack because I like all my stuff together. You know, I want all my stuff with me because I never had that.
Yeah.
So going back to the why question, your little quirks, it's not your DNA. Like who you are is the making. It is the DNA of who you are today. So just really, you know, diving in and understanding yourself as a person.
Yeah. It's so interesting as you talk. I when we had that one conversation, I was like, okay, we have like something in common. But the more
Yeah.
you talk, it's just like, wait, that happened to me too. Wait,
Yeah.
my parents were divorced too. Wait, I was constantly here and there. And I was always trying to run away. Like even in relationships, I mean, I've worked on it in this relationship because been the most healthiest relationship that I've been in. But it's interesting, like when we get in a fight, I'm like, okay, I need to get all my stuff together because if I have to go, I have to go. Like I need to have everything together. And it's just like, why do I feel this way? Like, because if I was mad at my dad, I'd go to my mom's house. If I was mad at my mom, I'd go to my dad. If I was mad at both of them, they didn't talk to each other. So I was like, hey, I'm at my mom's house. Hey, I'm at my dad's house. And now I'm going to someone else's house that I shouldn't be at. And it's interesting, but you don't think about it in those moments, or like in the moments that I sit back and am like, okay, me and Sarah just got in a really big fight. Does this mean we're going to break up? I need to get all my things together. And it goes into like that survival mode. But it wasn't until right now you saying that, like, oh, that's where it comes from, and not having this stable environment. And yeah,
What's your partner's name?
Sarah.
Sarah, you sound amazing. Have great. What's this right here? It's gonna take some time, but you sound great. So patience is key. My fiance that I'm with now,
Yeah.
we met when I was 21, and we've been together for a long time. Even to this day, like he's very warm, very loving, very patient. And when you know the first half of our relationship, that was really hard for me to accept. Like I was weird with it, where it was like, oh no, don't touch me. You
Yeah.
know, no, like I don't want that. Like don't touch me.
Yeah.
Until recently, where I'm like, you know what? Like it's time. Like I gotta let this man in. We've been together long enough.
Yeah.
You know, and about 2 years ago is when I would have to force myself to be affectionate.
Mhm.
But again, the sum of that is what I went through. I didn't want him to touch me. You know, and there was times where he tried to hug me, it pissed me off because it's like, no, when I say no, listen, it's no. And
Yeah.
that wasn't to him. That was just what
Yeah.
came out, you
Yeah.
know, like that's my voice.
Yeah.
So it's hard, it's complicated, but he's the best thing that's happened to me. Like he is the best partner because he is so patient.
Yeah. And it is hard to accept. I think I and it I swear, you just keep saying things. I'm like, me and you are living parallel lives. Because that has been something that I've been struggling. And I told Sarah when we met, it's so easy for me to be affectionate in the beginning, but the closer I get to you, I'm like, no, no,
Run.
no,
Yeah.
yeah. And it's something that she gets mad that I say this, too bad, which I doubt she'll get mad anyway. But she's like, I want to hug you. I want to do this. I want to do that. And like, we'll be doing something and like, I'll be walking up the stairs and she'll want to like smack my ass. And I'll be like, don't touch me. Don't do this. And it's like, if I'm telling you this is my body, and I know that for me, at least, it's triggered by when I was sexually assaulted.
Yeah.
And when I finally, and it wasn't until this relationship that I decided, well, when I was doing my healing beforehand, that I am not going to do things because I'm scared that the person's going to leave. I'm
Yeah.
not going to, allow myself to be put in these positions anymore, because all I'm doing is creating the same cycle and creating the same hurt. And I'm sitting there quietly and waiting for something to be over. And I've done it in every relationship because I thought that's how I was going to keep this person. But time and time again, that's not how you keep a person. And now it's like, now that I have this voice, like she's just like, I get it. I'm not going to touch you. I'm going to ask. And then I'm just like, okay, I'm sorry. Like, I didn't mean
Yeah.
to, like, you're so sweet. I'm sorry. Like, but at the same time, it's like I'm struggling with myself because I know like there's times where she's sitting there and I'm feeling sad inside, but I'm not going to tell her.
Yep.
But I'm really hoping that she just leans over for a hug. But then also, I don't want her to hug me because I'm going to start crying, and I don't want to start crying in front of her. And it's like this battle within my own head. And it's sad, but it's also something that, I'm trying to overcome in this moment and within this relationship, because she's the one person that like has shown up so much within the short span of time that we've been together. And I know I have to put in my work, but it's been so great to have somebody that's patient and understanding. And she's just like, well, you told me that, okay, I'm gonna sit here. Can I do this? And now she'll always ask, can I hug you? Can I do this? Can I do that? Which I appreciate. But it's definitely hard at times.
Like the day that I told my fiance I had an abortion,
Mhm.
that has been such a dark cloud over the relationship for
Mhm.
me,
Yeah.
because I felt like I was hiding something out of shame, where I'm like, oh my God, he's going to judge me for this. Like, he's not going to love me. And like, when you really think about it, like, how irrational is that? Like, of course he's going to love me. He's not going to stop loving me for something I did 15 years ago.
Yeah.
But the day that I told him, I cried so hard, and I'm not an emotional person at all. I have to try to, like, okay, shut your brain off, sis. Like, let's feel now. I cried so hard, and I cried for like maybe an hour. And I felt the like shame leaving my body. And that was one of the best moments. After that day is when I started feeling okay with like the affection, because I finally figured it out. Like, I do deserve love. Like, that does not define who I am. That was not my fault. Um, so I think it's great. I think it's great that you found somebody, because, like I said, I've been following you for a long time, and you are glowing. Like, this is gonna work out for you. It's gonna take off, and your relationship, like, I know it's gonna work. Like, you're gonna be all right.
Oh, you're so sweet. Thank you. I know that. And it's so funny. A lot of people have told me, like, dude, you look so happy, this, that. And I'm just like, what are you talking about? Like, but it's such a difference. Even when I was talking to my younger sister, she's out in Norway, and she was like, I was looking at your old YouTube videos and you need to redo them because that Lori is not this Lori.
Yeah.
And her storytelling is not like, it's not you. And you're finally being you. And like it's nice to hear, because I think sometimes we need to hear it, especially when we know we're so hard on ourselves.
Yep.
um but the last question, what advice would you give to women in general? Anything that you can leave everybody with today that you think it is important to know, information, advice, whatever comes to your heart.
Message one: you're not crazy. Your intuition is there, whether it's suffocated with things that you've been fed for your whole life. Your intuition is there, and I highly recommend that you tap in. The second that you tap in, life, you'll gain clarity. Like it's like a new world. And you may lose some people, and that's okay. You outgrow each other and they serve their purpose.
Mhm.
The day that you make room for new energy and new relationships, you bloom and you blossom into who you're supposed to be. uh, Give yourself grace, be graceful with yourself. You are going to make mistakes, and that's okay because you learn from them. So that's the message. Be graceful, be loving, be patient, and just know that you're always going to progress and you're always going to change. So don't put yourself in buckets of, I have to be this way. No, this is who I am. That is manifestation. The words you speak are what is going to be. So be positive about yourself.
Yes, 110%. That is so true. Um, it's funny because so you were talking about religion earlier. I grew up Catholic. Sarah is Christian. And when I came into her life, I was like, okay, like I know there's like hardcore Christians over here. Like, I don't know if you're more in the middle or you're kind of like, okay, because this is what I practice. This is my spirituality. I do use tarot cards. Like I grew up Catholic. I get that they say that the Bible says it's wrong, this, that. And I explained how I see all this like energy working and energy healing and how that's something for me to get closer to God. Because I do
Yeah.
believe in God, the universe, whatever you want to call it. These are my tools to get in touch with myself and with this higher power. Um, and I told her, like, I never want to exchange negative energy. I'm not going to be casting a spell or saying things because just like what you said right now, what you say, that is spell work. You're putting negative energy out there. That is putting something bad on somebody. And I'm constantly telling Sarah that. And it's so funny because I don't know if it's just where I've gotten in life that like I am very careful of the words that I say. I'm not going to be like, oh, I can't meet up with you because I am broke. No, I'm not broke. I
Yeah,
just
you're
can't
not.
right now. Yeah, like whatever it is, because I don't want to manifest certain things. And like it'll be a little thing, and Sarah will be like talking her shit, doing whatever. And just like this weekend, what were we doing? Oh, we were camping last weekend, and I turned the light off, and we're walking to the bathrooms and the campsites and it's dark, but I'm like, okay, give your eyes like time to adjust. And she's like, I'm gonna like slip on a rock and I'm gonna twist my ankle. And I was like, if you say that, and then boom, it happened. And I was like, that's what you get. You shouldn't
Shut
have said that.
up.
If you didn't say that, it wouldn't have happened. And then there was another instance while we were going camping that she said something, and I was like, I'm just gonna wait for it to happen. And it happened right after. And I told her, like, I'm constantly telling you, like, your words are your manifestations. So you have to be careful of what you're saying because you're gonna, if you believe that to be true, it is like the universe is gonna be like, all right, it's true, here you go. So that's such a great, I guess, piece of advice because it's true. What we are saying to ourselves, what we are saying is gonna happen is going to happen. So be careful with your words and be
Love
kind.
that you touch on the religious portion of it, because I feel like that is so taboo for this community.
Yeah.
And before I would get messages like, hey, like you're a devil worshiper. Like, no, I'm not. And it used to make me so mad. Like it really made me upset. And there's a healer that I follow where I reached out and I was like, hey, like I just got this hate mail. I'm pissed. Like, do you ever receive this? Her message changed like my life, because that constant battle internally with who I was and trying to figure out my place in the healer community, there was so much friction and just unsettled energy. She responded with so much grace. She was like, look, I don't, because my followers and the people that I attract don't speak. And she's like, you pray for that person and you wish them well. And I was like, God, maybe my internal friction was attracting that community of hate. Like I said, I would go to church with my grandma when I was a kid. And that's where my faith was found. So like to your point, yeah, I believe in God. Am I summoning demons in my home? Absolutely not. Like that is insane. So I guess there's a lot of even at the markets, I think it's kind of funny now, like, oh, is this bad? Well, do you think that resetting your energy is bad?
Yeah.
No, it is you. Like, you are the magic.
Mhm.
So I like, to your point, I'm not casting spells. Are there people that do that? 1,000%. And if that's their magic, sis, good for you. You
Yeah.
know, there's a for that. And there's people that need that.
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah,
Like, I don't,
exactly.
you know. So I think that's good because there is a lot of confusion around local gem in that. Um, and I want to clear the air and just establish, like, I do believe in God. I do have a strong foundation. Absolutely don't practice any dark art. And I'm laughing because it's comical now. You know, I don't practice dark art. And everything that I do is with love. I
Mhm.
sage my when I'm praying, asking for protection. Send me angels, ancestors, if you're out there, like, come through, help me. And my great grandma, I just found this out from one of my cousins, worked with herbs
Oh,
and did things like that. So they never went to the doctor. My grandma had an herb for that. And as I make, I make oil rollers and I make sage sprays, I feel so connected and so happy when I work with things. So finding that out made sense to me.
yeah.
Okay, maybe my great grandma's one of my ancestors helping me, through this journey.
Yeah, definitely.
My lineage on my grandpa's side is Native American.
Mhm.
And him and I have this bond, like, he is the love of my life. Like, that man is everything to me. So I think a lot of my intuitive skills are native. And
Mhm.
I think it's who I am, you
Mhm.
know?
Yeah. Like, you came from healers and you're the current healer for the family right now. And it's such a beautiful way to see it. I want to turn around really quick to look at, well, okay, that's what I was looking at. So talking about religion and all that, I don't know if you've ever read the Four Agreements.
Yes.
Okay, so that's what it remind, like what you were saying was reminding me, like when you figure out, like you can. So one of the girls that I interviewed, Samira, she does readings, she does the Turkish coffee grounds. Um,
Okay.
so I was taught, she was actually the first person that has ever done any readings or anything like that on me. And it started with coffee when I was like 15, 16. And I was like, okay, it's coffee, it's not tarot cards, it's not this, it's not that. So, like, again, you struggle with what you grew up learning. And my mom had always done it, but she always hid it from me and my sister because her and my dad had decided they were going to raise us Catholic. My
Yeah.
dad's he's super Catholic. Like, my grandma worked for the church that we were all baptized in, where they all got married. Like, she worked for the church for years and she was the director. So religion was such a huge, or still is such a huge thing in my household. And the more I started getting into spirituality, and I remember someone gave me this book, and as I started reading it and realizing, like, okay, even within the Bible, like, God makes you in his image.
Yeah.
And then when you read that, it's like, and Samira said this too, she's not fighting with spirituality and religion. She's finding a way to marry them and
Yes.
to intertwine both in a way that suits you and works for you. And it's such a beautiful way of seeing it. And she had explained to me the first time, because I was like, I really, like, something in me wanted to do tarot.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, what is it that I'm fighting with internally, and how do I get through this? And she sat there and she was just like, this is the way I connect with God. This is the way I ask questions. And I'm able to then like talk to God in a way. And I'm able to figure it out. And then reading that book, it just reaffirmed that. And it was saying, like, you have God within you. You are God, because we're all, at the end of the day, connected. When we die, all of our souls and our spirits go to the same place. We're all connected in one way or another. So it's just a beautiful way of figuring out that both worlds can live together. And I don't know, I find like peace in that, and that's why I'm able to, like, okay, Sarah, like, you're Christian, cool. I don't want you to tell me that what I'm doing is wrong.
Yeah.
I am going to voice that, but I'm going to respect that. If that's the sole thing you believe in, that's fine. But what I'm doing, there's nothing wrong with it. I'm if anything, I'm probably going to be the most loving person in that church if I ever go to church with you. Like, I'm accepting of all kinds of people. And if someone does me wrong, I'm going to be like, okay, like that sucks. I'm so sorry that you're going through a hard time. And I wish nothing but the best. And did that hurt my feelings? Am I like upset by that? Yes. But I wish nothing bad on you. And I'm sorry that you're going through a hard time because obviously you're going through a hard time. And it's more of me finding like this understanding instead of this judgment and hate and like all these negative things.
I think that's the biggest part about spirituality that is so misunderstood. It's like in a Catholicism, which is the foundation for a lot of religions. We don't know what the hell happened a million years ago, you know, and to still live by these confinements just creates barriers, and there's no unity. And, you know, to your point, like, there has been nothing that I've read or nothing that I've practiced that has preached hate, or you don't associate with this person, you don't do this. It's all about mutual understanding. And I think that that is the best thing that I've learned from it or have gained from this, because like everyone else, when I was younger, I was so like disconnected,
Yeah.
where I was hating on other girls. Oh, I don't like her. I hate her. Why? I just don't. And then you go home, because she's prettier than me. You
Yeah.
know, you internally have conflict.
Yeah.
And that's where all that stems from. And the second that you get rid of that and you make room for new stuff, new energy, you heal. So I love that we're talking about this. This is like totally off topic, by the way. Like those 8 questions, I feel like we're just
It
having
works.
coffee. Yeah. Like, I love that we're having dialogue around that, because at some point, you know, as a human, like I'm tired of explaining myself,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and my family has accepted what I am and who I am. And, you know, the message to people that are anti, you know, local gem or anti Jasmine's practice, anti Lori's practice, it's like, look, I'm going to pray for you. Okay. Like, I'm going to pray for you, because this relationship could have been good. It could have been good. But if you're going to X-day me out because of a belief that you have, that's not my problem.
Yeah.
So I think that's great.
Yeah. And yeah, it's nice. It's a beautiful thing, and it's nice. I think this is such an important conversation because you don't hear people talking about it, and you don't hear women saying like, okay, well, I still am Catholic or I still am Christian, and there's still certain core beliefs that I have because this is how I grew up, but I'm able to do both, and I can do both, and I still have this relationship which is my own, and it doesn't need to be through organized religion,
No.
because that maybe gave me the foundation or some type of foundation, but I was able to figure it out for myself. And that's what I tell Sarah too, like I am constantly, whether it's meditating or I'm pulling cards or I'm doing affirmations, like that is my relationship with God. And like Christians or Catholics, I mean, I have like my quinceañera rosary and all that stuff. And like,
Sure.
you know, I'll still do certain practices or, but at the end of the day, I think I like pray. I don't consider it praying anymore. I'm just having these conversations constantly, way more than I have to go on Sunday to church and sit there for an hour and be so bored. And like, no, I'm constantly having this relationship with this higher power within myself. And we just had this conversation about like a month ago, and I was just like, you know, I'm actually a lot more, I guess, religious or spiritual now. And I have such a greater understanding and a greater relationship now with God, the universe, whatever, um, through finding my spirituality and through being able to use my decks and through being able to light a candle and just have an intention and doing daily affirmations, doing daily gratitudes. And I think it's something that has saved me and has brought so much joy and a lot more kindness into my heart and into my environment.
1,000%. I when I first started, I would try to tell my grandma, you know, it's really hard to explain, and I know you're probably not going to understand, but I feel so much more connected to God now in my life than I did ever and I don't know, I'm sure maturity and being
Experience.
wiser has a lot to do with that. But like, I'm such a good person now. And it's funny because I was telling my fiance about this and I was reading him the question. And the question about what would you tell your younger self, I was like, this is going to get deep because I was such an ugly person back then.
Mhm.
Like, I had so much hate in my heart and I had so much like envy and jealousy and resentment towards how I grew up.
Mhm.
The things that I experienced where I wouldn't wish that on anyone's kid. And the emotions and the feelings that I would feel, the dialogue that was in my head, like there was something wrong,
Mhm.
but I didn't speak up and I didn't ask for help. And I wasn't ready to heal because I didn't seek help.
Yeah.
I dealt with that on my own. So I think that's great that you touch on that because I think that kids are going through that today, probably on a level 1,000 with social media, the constant comparison, the filters, like that's not real life.
Mhm. Yeah,
So
it's true. Um, there's two things that you mentioned. I feel like we're gonna be here forever. But it's good. They're great conversations and things that people need to hear. But the first thing, the filters. Oh my gosh, I remember the first time. So I've never liked, you know, whatever you want to do, it's your body. But for myself, I've never wanted like lip fillers or to get lip injections or Botox or this or that. But constantly seeing it, I remember the first time I was at the mall and I was like, I think I was at Sephora and I was like, maybe if I did get them then, and I have big lips, I have a big mouth, period. Like, what? And I remember being there and looking at myself and like, okay, what if I did this, if I did that? And it was like specifically my lips. And I was like, and I remember like I stepped back like from myself basically. And I was like, whoa, like, what are you thinking? But it's like you're seeing it. So I can only imagine a teenager, a young girl that is constantly seeing this. You don't even know how to understand your emotions yet you're constantly trying to make yourself look a certain way. And what does that do to you? Because me as a 30-year-old at that time, I think I was like 27, but like I was able to be like, whoa, 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 relax. Like this is not okay. So it's so true and it's oh, there it goes. It's so true that like what are these young girls going through? What are they thinking? What are they feeling? And I mean, I went through a lot in high school, but like would I have been able to go through all that and had this like disgusting self-image of myself because of everything that I'm seeing being constantly posted and being bombarded with all these filters and all these beauty hacks and how to make yourself look pretty. Are you pretty? Are you hot? Are you this? Are you that? It's crazy. Um and then the second thing is like the conversation that you had with your grandma. So I remember I have this one deck and it's my Whispers of Love deck and they're angel cards. They're all different angels and it's all like the message is all love. And I had taken them because my cousin wanted me to pull cards and that was my first oracle deck and I was like, okay, it's angels. It's a softer like reading and it's kinder. So I wanted to give myself something that was going to be a little bit nicer, I guess. And I don't know that I was ready for tarot at that time or well, I wasn't. And I remember being at this birthday party and my cousin I was doing my cousin's card and then my aunt-in-law, her dad, I guess I didn't know at the time that her parents were like spiritual. And then
okay,
he's like, "Oh my gosh, Lori, I need you to do a reading for me." And I was like, "Okay." And this is an older Filipino man that is Catholic that
yeah,
goes to church every Sunday. And then he goes, oh, and then when I see angel numbers and whenever I see this number, I know I'm going to get a big check and this and that. And I'm just like, oh, Victor, like I didn't know you were into this. And then my grandma like slowly started coming over. And as she comes over, then she's like, fine, do this for me. And I was like, okay. And it was so funny. The cards that I pulled, there was literally a card that said, somebody might be doing something that you feel is wrong, but you need to understand that this is good for them. And this is something that is very important to them. And it of course centered in love and like the message, I was just like, oh my God, like I'm telling her accept who I am right now. Like this is what the reading is saying. And I was trying to figure out how to word it where like I wasn't gonna be like telling my grandma, you need to accept me for who I am, And I was like, That's what it says. But I remember like I was holding back, like just dying inside because I was like, oh my God, she's gonna kill me. But then she was just like, oh, I like this. This is nice. And then I was just like, okay, like, and that's where like my grandpa would be like, oh, you're a bruja or this or that, and telling me all these things in Spanish. And I'll be like, yeah, don't make me mad. I'll do things like that to him. But it's nice because after that, my grandma would be like, oh, I don't feel good or this or that. And I'll bring her a crystal and she'll be like, okay, mija, I'll keep this in my pocket or I'll do this. And she's more like accepting of it, which I love. But that was the like the reading that she allowed me to give to her. And I was just like, oh my God, like, how does this all work out? But that's just how it works. And it's nice because again, you're not only marrying it within yourself, but your family learns how to deal with this person that you're becoming because of these things. And I'm sure they also see like, okay, there is positive change within Jasmine. There's positive
Yep.
change within Lori. There's positive change within whoever's watching this. Like they're able to see it. So you can't deny that it's a good thing and it's not a negative thing because they're not going through this bad path. You're going through a healing path and you're becoming the best version of yourself. And it's such a beautiful, beautiful thing. But yeah.
What a moment.
Yeah, it was great. And I think definitely something that I will always hold on to because like, okay, well, now I know how you feel and okay, like and now I'm telling you to accept me for who I am and it's beautiful and I think it heals the relationship between like an elder and you and it's such a great thing and it's such a beautiful message I think all around.
Let's change the narrative already. Like I remember going or seeing tarot with the neon sign in the window and like the chick looking scary. Like I'm so ready to change the narrative around that. Like we are the healers. Like we're just like everyone else. It's just we're in tune with who we are, and we have a connection with higher powers where I'm not seeing things, thank God. I don't think I'm ready for that. I think I'd panic. If I ever saw anything, I'd like, I'm gonna need you to go.
Yeah.
But I do feel things and I always have. I remember being little and I've always been very interested in the paranormal ever since I was little. Like all the women in my family on my mom's side are like that. We're just weird. And I remember going to like the Queen Mary and I would be like, I'm dizzy. I don't feel good. I've been very sensitive to things my entire
Yeah.
so just knowing with a why behind it and like, okay, I can deal with this is huge. So let's do it. Like, let's just change the narrative.
Yes, that is our job going forward to I mean, we've been doing it anyway, is to change what people see and to understand or to help bring understanding to this world and understanding to spirituality in a different way with crystals, with tarot, with all these beautiful healing things that bring healing properties to us.
Yeah.
That I think everybody would benefit from as long as you're using it for the higher good and not negative things. And if you're doing that, then that's on you. I don't want that karma. I wipe my hands of this. But it was so nice talking to you today. I appreciate you so much. These were great conversations. And I hope you guys got a lot out of it. I want to say thank you again to Jasmine for being here. I love you guys so much, and I want to leave you with light love and a big old hug. Bye, guys.
Thank you.